Hello there, this is Rom coming back at you with yet another smartphone couch video. When it's all fuzzy in the background, it's a smartphone, yeah. But check it out. Check out types of women receptive to average men on video. And it's a video I did. The link for it is in the description box. Because, you know what, let's just be real out here. This is big talk about, looks. And if we're going to be honest, yeah, there's a certain icon that women in general go for, or at least hold up as the ideal looking men. Typically, let's just be real. Handsome face, tall, great hair, some tats, muscular six-pack abs, all of that. Most men don't look like that. Yet they still getting some play. They still getting women. They still getting in happy relationships. And the thing is, yes, you're going to get some women who going to reject a guy if he don't look a certain way. It is what it is. And let's just say it's a good number. It's a good number of those type of women. But you got groups of women out there, they more receptive than people realize to an average looking man. Or average built man, average height man. That, either average as far as body build, as long as it's decent, but then, guy might be a little bit overweight, he might be underweight, whatever. And you still got some women who are still receptive. That's the key word. Because and I addressed this in the video, but let's talk about the selection criteria. Or if you want to use the 2080 thing, or alpha beta, it's kind of fluid. Because you're going to get some women who, they only want 20% of the men. But you're going to get some women who are more open to men in the 80% of men. And not just because, just because there's only so many men. They just open anyway. In fact, you got some women out here, if you present them with an icon, and that's, that ideal, that Chad, Mr. Goodbar type of man, or just a regular dude, they'll take the regular dude. But why is that? And I get into that in the video. I'm saying what it is about them. And see, here's the thing. The thing is, men got to realize that. See, instead of worrying about which women aren't choosing you, focus on the women who are. And let me be clear about it. I talk about this in the video. It ain't always like some ugly busted woman either. Because quite frankly, they can be picky too. They can be pickier. Just because they know what they look like and they like, nah, I'm going for the top one. In fact, that's why a lot of men think women automatically want that man who's automatically better looking. Nah, not necessarily. Because here's the thing. When I talk about the receptive women, groups of receptive women, I talk about specifically why they are receptive. See, ultimately, and I say this in Nice Guys and Players, women choose men according to their needs. They might not need you to be a certain type of man that's held up as the top dog. In general, yeah, they do though. Yeah, in general. But remember, when we're talking about relationships, it's an art, not a science. If it was a science, we wouldn't have anything to talk about. Because let me be clear, let me say something about that real quick. If something is a science, I mean, you could do it and it works every single time. And let's be real. If that was the case, nobody would be complaining. They would just do what they need to do. But it's more of an art. But even then, and even with the general groups of receptive women, it's still a general thing. But they are receptive. I know this from experience. I know this from watching stuff. I know this from talking with the women themselves. And that's because each group got something about them that makes them more open to a greater number of men. Like I say in the video, you check it out on Vimeo. Yes, you got some women who are definitely like on the 80-20 thing. You got some women who are on the 95-5 thing. But then you got a lot of women, they might be open to 70% of men and like reject 30%. And they ain't necessarily on the whole thing. And I give some examples of a very beautiful woman. I give one example of a very beautiful woman who was pretty much open to a guy as long as he approached her correctly. Regardless of how he looked, his body build and everything. She wasn't automatically dismissing him. He just had to approach her correctly. And shoot, I can think of another woman. Shoot, even if you didn't approach her correctly, she was more open. I mean, that's just the thing. See, let me tell you something with players, true players. Now, remember, I'm not telling you to be a player. Let me get that clear. Let me get that abundantly clear. I'm not telling you to be a player, but you can still use their skills. One thing about a player, they read their targets. Like a successful player, heck, even if he cold approaching, he's going to read it first. So it's still not really technically a true player is not technically cold approaching. He's reading her. He's reading her. When he steps to that woman, it ain't just he just stepped to her. He looking at everything about it. He looking at her body build, her race, how she styling her hair, how she moving. If he can, hearing her voice, he's checking out. So it's still not a cold approach. That's a player. But he recognized, okay, if I approach this type of woman, approach it this type of way, the likelihood of succeeding is very high. Let me use the word very high. And that's the key to it. And see, what I'm giving you is an insight into spotting the types of women. Well, I talk about 5 different groups. I'm not going to give them here, who are generally receptive to a greater amount of men. They're more receptive than average to an average man. And let me be clear, these ain't busted women either. And at least one group is definitely not busted. One group of women. These are particularly, I throw it out there, I call them stars. Like rolled out of bed, beautiful women. Don't have to wear makeup. They still the finest woman in the room. And they're actually very receptive, more receptive. And I'll tell you why in the video. See, the whole thing is this. I'm going to tell you what. Every quote-unquote dating coach should have his area of expertise. Mine really isn't body game. I tell you body game for free, but my real thing is just being able to read women. That's my real thing. That's my real thing. Now, is it 100%? Nothing is. But it's very good, though. See, that's the whole thing right there. If you can read the woman, then you have an idea. You even get an idea how to even approach her. You even get an idea how to approach her. And then it's like, it make everything easy. You seeing stuff before somebody else see it. I used to scare women like that. I'd be like, I tell them I'm reading them, and they'd be like, yeah, okay, Ron. And then I call something, they say, Ron, how'd you know that was going to happen? I told you I was reading. You know? But that's the thing, though. That's the thing. See, one of the things, a problem out here, many men are chasing women who just ain't receptive. It really comes down to, is the woman receptive? Is she defensive? Many women are defensive. Many little girls are especially defensive. But actually, grown women can be defensive as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. Women by nature don't want to mess with every man. In fact, I remember my co-parent, she had sent me an article one time. She said, shoot, even the egg in the vagina, even the egg when it's ingrained, embedded in the wall, this even picky about which sperm it'll let come to it. It'll give a signal for a certain sperm. It's like, man. So there's nothing wrong with them being defensive. But the key is you got to think, okay, women, in fact, every single woman, she can be receptive, she can be defensive. The key is she receptive to who you are? Now, I'm talking about types of women who are receptive to average men. And that's still a general thing. But you have if you're an average man, like say, okay, like the icons, I talk about the male icons. Let's just be real out here. You got to look like you could star on Love Island. That's the icon on full display right now. That's the full display in most of the world. That type of icon. Tall, fit, muscular, everything, all of that. That's the icon right now. But you get some guys who don't come anywhere near, but they walking out with a very attractive woman, or at least a decent woman. That's because the woman was receptive. And I tell you, like I say, every single woman, I tell you, okay, this is what you got to do to be receptive to this. She'll be receptive if you do this. She'll be open, receptive to who you are. That's it. So check it out, though. The link is in the description box. You will learn a lot. And I'll just say that in general, because on my like Rom TV, I have some series on reading women. Master Teacher BGS, he talks about the octane model. That, trust me, that's a powerful one I've added to my arsenal. I've added that to my arsenal. It's powerful. If you understand how to read women, Cousin Tito talks about reading women in his book, The Seduction Scriptures. If you understand who you dealing with, if you can get a good read, it don't have to be 100% because it never is, but if you can 50%, at least a minimum baseline, if you can read 50% of a woman, you win. You actually win, even if she rejects you, because then you already have an idea how to talk to her, how to approach, how to interact with her. At least 50%, and if the better you get at it, it makes it easier. So, it's not, you're not even doing cold approaches. You're not even doing cold approaches. It's like it's an approach. Your approach is warm no matter what, even if she gives you 0 choosing signals. Very easy. Well, I ain't gonna say it's very easy. If you learn it, it makes things easier. How about that? So anyway, check out the video, and I'll get back with y'all later. Peace and blessings.